Welcome to the Lech Parsha podcast, where we delve into the Torah's timeless wisdom and uncover uplifting and empowering lessons tailored to the challenges of our generation. Agudin Erev Shabbos, Parshas Lecha, Tavshin Pei Hey. I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a wonderful week. Thank you to Mayor Chodas and family of Minneapolis, Minnesota for the sponsorship of this week's shir and publication. Thank you to our corporate sponsors, the Haas and Zaltz Law Firm, Meridian Senior Health, and Bluestone Brokerage. I am excited to announce, publicly thank, and welcome Uri Wolgamuth of Muncie, New York, and his company, Mark Wolgamuth and Associates, attorneys at law, for your new corporate sponsorship, for getting involved in the Lech project in Harbatzas Torah. Thank you very, very much. May we see only success and tremendous Hachzakas Torah, Harbatzas Torah together. May we always do great things together, Be'ezer Hashem. For future dedications and sponsorships of the weekly Lech publication and podcast, please reach out to 845-367-2959. Whether it's a simcha, a birthday, a yahrzeit, whatever it is that you may want to honor, do it in memory of. We will be able to accommodate you. We're excited to do so, and I look forward to speaking to you. We live in an absolute chaotic, tumultuous world with ups and downs, but there's so many negative influences, rising anti-Semitism, crazy current events, crazy year, and there's so much to contend with, so much to put up with. As we know, we read a few parshas ago in Parshas Bereshis. Hashem created each and every yid with its Selma Elokim Hibara Oisam. Hashem created each yid with an image, with the face of God Himself. And at the same time, Hashem created each and every one of us in the 21st century to endure, to withstand the insanity, the temptations of this upside-down Olam Hafach that we traverse. The ups and downs, the trials and travails that we face, that we endure, are inevitable. But one of the most important things possible is that the belief in each and every one of ourselves, the power, the potency, the inner courage and fortitude that resides, that languishes within the neshamas, within each and every one of us, within each and every yid. We learn that message, incredibly, from no one other than Oig Melech HaBashan and Avraham Avinu in this week's parsha. I'll tell you an incredible word I saw from the Sifrei Tzaddik, who says as follows. The Medrash tells us, Vayavai HaPalit, that light, he was taken, he was abducted, and his Palit, the fugitive, came to rescue him. And the Medrash relates, who was this fugitive, who was this person that came to redeem, to be paide, light? The Medrash tells us it was Oig Melech HaBashan, good old Oig, who was around for hundreds and hundreds of years, from before the Ashchasa, the destruction of the entire world from the Mabul. He was the only one that survived. And the Medrash relates, explains, why did he have this very interesting, really bizarre name, Oig? Oig sounds like Uga. Uga in Hebrew means a cookie, a cake. Why was he dubbed with this funny, interesting name? And the Medrash tells us because he was once in the house of Avraham Avinu. He was visiting, he was being mevaker Avraham Avinu, while Avraham Avinu was baking ugais, matzah. He was baking matzahs for Pesach. As we know, the Gemara tells us that Avraham Avinu kept kol Torah kula. So even though the incident, the Maisa of Yetzias Mitzrayim never took place yet, but Avraham Avinu, years before, he was already keeping all the mitzvahs. So he's baking matzahs to cover Pesach, and in walked Oig Melech HaBashan, and saw what was going on, and tells us the Sifrei Tzaddik something mind-blowing. Says the Sifrei Tzaddik, the Torah is telling us the reason why he was called Oig was because he was inspired by the nitzitz of Kedusha. He was turned on, he was sparked by the helikite, by the holiness of the performance of the great mitzvah that Avraham Avinu was doing, of baking, of kneading the dough for the mitzvah of matzah, which is otherwise known as uga. Uga is a cake, referring to the matzah. And because of that, he was called Oig, for the uga, for the matzah that he saw. Asks the tzaddik, the Sifrei Tzaddik, I don't understand. This man, Oig, was around for thousands, almost 1,000 years, from before the Mabul. He was like a dinosaur, around just forever. We couldn't have picked a better name for him. This was the name that he was chosen for him. From all the occurrences, we couldn't fathom maybe 80 years, 90 years, maybe people that are 100 years, that's a long time. But close to 1,000 years of life, walking around planet Earth, there was nothing more significant that happened other than the fact that he saw Avraham Avinu baking matzahs. Says the tzaddik, from here we see a tremendous yisoid, life lesson, and that is, we cannot undervalue, we cannot underscore the impact, the magnitude of even one moment. And when Oig Melech HaBashan was standing in the presence of Avraham Avinu when he was baking those matzahs, from all of the things, all the occurrences and instances and stories and hashgacha pratis and crazy maisa and nisim that may have happened in the life of Oig, the Torah is telling us that the one moment that took place in the house of Avraham Avinu when he witnessed the nitzes of baking matzahs, that helikite, that kedusha, that had such a profound effect on him, and because of that, the Torah gave him the name Oig. What an incredible insight to the power, the magnitude, the potency of one moment, that because of this identified, this gave him the shame, this said, who is Oig, who is this person who's Melech HaBashan? He's Oig because at one time he saw, for one moment, when he was in Avraham Avinu's embrace, in his house, he experienced that aura of Kedusha, of Helikite, and because of that was the name that he was given for the close to 1,000 years that he lived on planet Earth. Avraham Avinu didn't know necessarily when Oig came to visit him that he was going to have this indelible, everlasting effect, not just an effect on the outside and on the neshama, but even on his actual name, on the essence of Oig Melech HaBashan. When Oig came and knocked on his door, Avraham Avinu could have said, listen, Oig, you're a great person, but you're not one of us. You're not a Yid, and I'm in the middle of mitzvahs, I'm in the middle of my kavanas, I'm in the middle of dveikus with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and right now is not the best time, please come back later. But Avraham Avinu, he embodied this faith, not just in himself, but in all mankind, and he believed that any opportunity is an opportunity to inspire, to uplift, and to help others reach the best versions of themselves. When Avraham Avinu gave him the opportunity, and Oig saw and he experienced the Kedusha that went on, the high level, the high charge of Ruchnius that constantly permeated the house of this great tzaddik, Avraham Avinu. He saw the ugos being baked. That was the name that inspired, that lit a fire, literally, of Oig inside, and by that virtue he was named Oig because of the ugos, the matzahs, that he saw being baked in the four walls of Avraham Avinu. Speaking about opportunity, experiencing holiness, and the belief that just with moments of experiencing time with tzaddikim, with holiness, that can have an everlasting impression. I want to share with you an incredible story I heard from Rabbi Zechariah Wallerstein Zichron Levracha about the legendary mechanech, Rabbi Ronnie Greenwald. And while the actual details of the story are absolutely amazing and incredible, the mental paradigm shift and eye-opening perspective is absolutely off the charts. So there was once a 10th grade girl who was expelled from her school for doing something serious. And back then, those times, it wasn't like today where you can find another school to take you no matter what. And in her town, there was only 2 schools. She'd been expelled from one, and the other, she had no chance of getting into. Her parents were completely at loss, and they didn't know what to do. And they felt her whole future was at risk. Her family went to everyone they could think of, pleading with them to convince the principal, the Rebbitzin, to take her back. But the principal would absolutely not budge. And she said, I won't let her ruin my school. She probably said it with love and empathy, but at the end of the day, she bared a tremendous responsibility for the rest of the school, and by no chance was she going to allow the girl who committed a serious violation come back to school. With nowhere else to turn, the parents went to Rabbi Greenwald, and they said, Rebbe, you're our last hope. No one can get through to the Rebbitzin. Maybe you can. And at first, Rabbi Greenwald didn't want to get involved, but eventually he acquiesced. He went to the Rebbitzin, and as soon as she sees him, she says, Rabbi Greenwald, I know exactly why you're here. I don't even know if it's worth your time. There's absolutely nothing I can do. I need to protect the school, and unfortunately, there's no option, and this girl will have to find elsewhere. Rabbi Greenwald looks at her and says, I understand. Can you possibly give me just 2 minutes? And she says, fine. What do you want to say? And he asks her, can I ask you a question? Let's say a Bubbe, an old grandmother, walks into your school. What could she possibly do for you to kick her out? And the Rebbitzin contemplated for a moment, giving him a strange look, and finally answered, a Bubbe? What could she possibly do? Even if she were to pull the fire alarm, I surely wouldn't throw her out. She's an old lady. She's a Bubbe. Rabbi Greenwald looked at the principal and said, I just want to let you know, you just threw a Bubbe out of your school. She stares at the rabbi, completely confused, completely unsure of what he means. And he said, I don't understand. What do you mean? I expelled a 16-year-old girl, not a Bubbe. And Rabbi Greenwald explained, today, she's a 16-year-old girl. But one day, she'll be a mother. She'll be a grandmother. Maybe even a great-grandmother. You're not just looking at a 16-year-old girl. You're looking at a future. You're looking at a Bubbe. If you don't give her a chance, she may never become that Bubbe. After being completely thrown off guard, the Rebbetzin went quiet, thinking it over, processing the information, the perspective that she had just been told. And after a long pause, she finally says, if you can assure me that she'll turn into a good Bubbe, I'll give her another chance. I'll put her on probation. And the girl was allowed back. She graduated, she grew up, and indeed she became a Bubbe. And while the story was long forgotten, that moment, that perspective, Rabbi Greenwald said, that stayed with me forever. And he explained in Yiddishkeit, every moment holds the potential to ignite a soul, sparking someone to become their best self. Instead of seeing a troublemaker, a 16-year-old naughty girl, he saw potential of greatness and believed that simply remaining within the nurturing bounds of Torah education, surrounded by teachers and friends who would inspire her, could be the key to her growth. And he was right, because to him investing in her wasn't a risk, it was a commitment to her development, and it was a complete and profound belief in the power of uplifting someone, even through their most challenging moments. And in that pivotal moment, when she was just a 16-year-old girl on the brink of expulsion, he saw her as so much more. He saw not only who she was, but who she could become if she was given the chance. The first glance saw a struggling teenager. The second saw a future grandmother with a legacy. And Rabbi Greenwald's wisdom, his unshakable belief in her potential, saved her from being written off too soon. For us, in Yiddishkeit there's no Class B souls. There's only Class A, because each one of us, each neshama is a beloved child, an intentional investment of their Bnei Shalom. And this girl, who some viewed as a failure, someone unworthy of her place, was in truth a person with a future worth investing in. While others saw her as just lost and confused, annoying and mischievous, Rabbi Greenwald saw the faint light at the end of the tunnel, of her tunnel, a light that might take years to reach, but would be worth the journey. And for us, for ourselves, for others, we're all Class A. We're all, to an extent, we all possess that 16-year-old girl in us, where we're struggling, where we're mischievous, where we're stricken with different questions and confusion. But at the end of the day, we're all on Chelek Alekami Mal. We're all connected to the source of sources. While this story was a story about a girl who was given the chance to remain in the confines of a school, of a yeshiva, just like her, just like Oig Melech HaBashan, who was given the time, the experience in Avraham Avinu's house, just to see the mitzvah of matzah, we too have to give ourselves the chance to situate ourselves with kedusha, with holiness, with greatness, and believe with complete belief that while there are many moments, but there's one of them that possesses the potency and power to help us rise, to help us overcome, to help us become the true and greatest version of ourselves. Time is a very important thing. We can't undervalue, we can't underestimate the power of a second, the power of any given moment, the power of an experience. We never know when that second may come. So the answer is, we should always be open, we should always be susceptible and vulnerable to the kedusha that lies within every single moment. And when we attach ourselves and capitalize on the moment, who knows what that can bring us, who knows what we can become. So while current events and the elections and all the unfolding events and news are very enticing, let us not forget the value and the potential that each and every moment carries. Let us be open, let us be aware, because you never know which moment may be the golden ticket. Maisa Oves Simen Labanim, when we learn from the Hanhagas, the actions of our ancestors, of our Oves, Avraham Avinu, and how he inspired Oig just with his Afiyas Matzah, us too, when we collectively work on being mechazik ourselves, strengthening ourselves and connecting ourselves more and more with the Rebbeinu Shalom. May it be a nachas ruach le'etzenu, and in turn, may Hashem protect us, may Hashem redeem us, and may Hashem bring us to the long-awaited Eretz Yisrael, Yerushalayim Yer Kodesh, with the arrival of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mehir v'yameinu. Amen. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you all enjoyed, and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos. I thank each and every one of you for listening. I hope you enjoyed, and I wish you a wonderful Shabbos.